Grandpa,
Yes, darling.
can you tell me one of your stories?
Of course, what do you want to hear?
Well, one of your war stories, of course. I'm old enough now.
Oh, why, yes. When I was a young teenage journalist in World War II, I saw many things. But one of the things that stands out to me the most is the rescue at Dunkirk.
Well, what occurred there?
Well...
The year was 1940, and the German troops were as strong as ever. They had the most high-tech technology and weaponry. After taking over Poland and Sudetenland, the Germans were looking to conquer France as well, knowing its fragile state. German troops crossed the Maginot Line and went through the Rhineland, which was outlawed by the Treaty of Versailles. They were the most feared army, besides the Americans, of course, but still they were invincible. Knowing their strength, they confidently invaded France. The French stood no match against them, so they required reinforcements. Though not the most stable army, the British knew that their ally needed help. They were both weak at first and willing to fight back because of the longing for peace. However, Germany was still bitter over the Treaty of Versailles. The British and French were pushed back all the way to the waters of a beach called Dunkirk that pours out into the English Channel, and they had no way out.
General Verker, we have completed your order of retreating to Dunkirk, but we are unfortunately outnumbered. Our men are dying. What's our next move? Well, all we can do now is fight our hardest and hope for a miracle. By George, what's that in the distance? Are those boats?
At the same time, I was trying to find myself as a writer and a journalist. I wrote for long days and long nights, just searching for a good case to cover. I hadn't had time to cover any stories. They'd all been written about hundreds of times. That hot summer day in 1940 was a day I finally got the chance I was looking for. My assistant walked into my tent to report that...
Mr. Buckingham, come outside. Something has happened. It's a miracle.
By George, would you look at that? It was some of the best news I had ever heard, both for me and the soldiers. What I witnessed was a miracle of the war. The seafaring folk of England were kind enough to bring thousands of British and French soldiers onto their boats. About 140,000 soldiers were saved, boosting the morale of the Allied troops and citizens. If they weren't saved, the whole tide of the war would have changed.
Grandpa, tell me a story.
Well, what do you want to hear?
Well, about the Fuhrer and his great triumphs.
Well, when I was a journalist in World War II, there was this one massacre that I witnessed, which was the massacre at Dunkirk. And it was definitely the start of the road to Nazi England.
Exciting.
I know, let me tell you.
General Verker, we've retreated to the point, but it looks like there's no hope for us now. What do we do? Well, all we can do now is just hope for a miracle, I guess. See what happens. SOS, send help, invasion at Dunkirk. We are surrounded. Anybody can help. As many boats as possible. Save us from the Nazis, please. Signed, General Verker.
In the arms of the angel, fly away from here, from this dark hotel, and the endlessness that you feel.
Julia, something horrible has happened. Come look outside. Goodness me, this is terrible. Why isn't anyone helping?
It has come to my attention that the support of the people is no longer in my favor. I realize that a wave of sorrow and despair has fallen over our nation after our defeat at Dunkirk. Even though our morale is low right now, I believe that our nation will be able to pull through if we just stay united and focus on only protecting ourselves. I advise against allying ourselves with other countries, namely the United States, in order to prevent conflict and try to save as many lives as possible. I have a great love for the United Kingdom, and it is because of this that I feel it is best for her and me to resign from my position as Prime Minister. I wish the next leader the best, and I know our nation will pull together and get through this period of conflict.
With Churchill's resignation and the lowering of the Allies' morale, it made it easier for Hitler to take over all of Europe, helping him avoid war and a quick victory. As in Nazi Germany, all kids were enlisted into the Hitler Youth all over Europe, and this changed the mindset of all Europeans. Propaganda was spread all over this new regime, supporting Hitler and his many heirs, and degrading the ideals of capitalism. The West became isolated, with most relations and travel cut off with Nazi-ruled regions. A truce was created between the United States and Nazi-ruled states to avoid conflict. And the lifestyle of the people drastically changed, and it thus influenced everyone involved. Many were opposed to this new way of life, and has created a negative effect on households, creating unrest among the people to this day.
Let's take a picture for your Hitler Youth graduation invitation.
Household must possess a Hitler shrine, all must blindly obey any heir of Hitler, all German citizens are required to wear a red swastika armband, all must follow the superiority of the social hierarchy, all must respect the Nazi generals at all costs, all must submit to the ideals of communism, report any anti-Aryan or anti-Nazi activities immediately, all children must be enrolled in the Hitler Youth from age 4 to age 18. At age 18, men will join the Nazi armies to defend the Aryan race against the enemies, and love der Führer.
The Nazi Empire still thrives on today, under the intense control of Hitler V and the Third Reich.
Long live der Führer!